3 SEC teams have moved on to the Sweet 16. They are one of just 2 conferences to have that many teams remaining. And a man who knows the conference as well as anybody from the SEC Network, Tom Hart, joins us right now. Tom, appreciate you jumping on with us. I want to jump right into the game that will be the first of an SEC program, and that's Arkansas going up against UConn here in Vegas. It'll be a 7:15 tip time, and right now Arkansas is a bit of an underdog like they were against Kansas. You know, the interesting aspect about this Arkansas team, Tom, is that it gets brought up a lot. Hey, they got 2 lottery picks, Anthony Black and Nick Smith Jr. They combined to score 4 points in that upset win over Kansas. So what are you anticipating from Black and Smith come tomorrow night? And, you know, as crazy as this sounds, do they need them to beat UConn?
Tim, that does sound crazy. I mean, UConn is a fantastic team. They're third in the country in offensive efficiency. They're top 20 in defensive efficiency. The thing to remember with this Arkansas team is that it was a real windy road from a team chemistry standpoint. You know, Nick Smith may be the second college player taken in the draft behind Brandon Miller of Alabama. And coming into the season, a lot of folks thought he was better than Brandon. The problem is Nick had a knee issue that kept him off the floor, whether or not it should have or shouldn't have. Only he and his agents really know how severe it was, but it was a point of frustration for the team. And I think for his teammates over the course of the season. Like, here's this dude who's supposed to be a lottery pick and he could help us win. Where is he? Why isn't he on the floor? Why is he out in L.A. with Clutch Sports? Why isn't he here in Fayetteville? So that chemistry kind of reared its head a couple times. Nothing public, nothing like you would watch them play and go, oh, those dudes don't like each other. But from a chemistry on the floor standpoint, Nick Smith can be one of the best players remaining in this tournament, and he needs to play well. He played terribly on both ends of the floor last time out for Arkansas, but it kind of fits the mode. He's been up and down all season, so I wouldn't be surprised if he came out and he had a monster game. Anthony Black had been more consistent. They don't necessarily need him to score a ton of points because Ricky Council, 6'6" junior transfer from Wichita State, that guy can fill it up. He can get to the rim. He gets to the free throw line. He's a decent three-point shooter. They've got guys on that team that can score. Devontae Davis had a great second-round game. He's more of a lockdown defender. But, yeah, they come at you in waves, which is why they were a preseason top 10 team, and Smith's injury keeping him off the floor for a good chunk of the beginning and then the middle of the season is why they didn't realize the potential. I mean, 22 wins is nice for some teams, but this is a team that should have been a lot better than that and finished in the top 3 of the SEC instead of in the middle of the pack.
You know, one of the reasons after the Sweet 16 field was finalized that I took a flyer on Arkansas at 30-1 to win it all was because Eric Musselman has showed that he won't put up with the emotional roller coaster that Nick Smith has been on, that he will sit him down and go in another direction if that's what he thinks is in the best interest of winning the game. I guess, Tom, my question is, being as close as you are, is this fixable? Is it possible that we get the best version of Nick Smith and Arkansas can really win this thing, or is this going to be a situation where Musselman is just going to have to pull the talented freshman and, you know, he'll go and enter the draft and always look back on what could have been?
No, it's absolutely fixable. And while you're right, he doesn't put up with a lot of the craziness. The bottom line is he recognized late in this season when Nick Smith was available to come back that they had a higher ceiling with him as part of the program and on the floor than without him. And I talk about some of those losses. Their last 4 losses came to A&M by 6, to Kentucky by 9, on the road at Tennessee, they got blown out, but that's okay. And on the road at Alabama, they only lost by 3. And that was a game that they were in at the very end, all the way through that game. But they have proven that they can play with anybody. They just had problems before the Kansas game. They had problems winning those close games. Yeah, he's not afraid to take them out in the middle of a game. He's not guaranteed 35 minutes. And that's because they have that depth that I talked about. The other thing to keep in mind with Eric Musselman, what makes him so good in this setting is his background, not just as an NBA coach, but so many years in the CBA. Like, he's used to coaching pros, and he's used to attacking other teams' weakness. And he and his staff have the ability to put those game plans in overnight, which is what you need to do when you only have one day between games. Consecutive Elite Eights for this team, last SEC team standing the last couple of years. Have they been the most talented team in the SEC? I could argue no, but from a coaching standpoint, March Madness seems to be well built for Eric Musselman.
We're talking to Tom Hart, play-by-play broadcaster for ESPN and the SEC Network. Tennessee, Florida Atlantic tomorrow night, Madison Square Garden. Tennessee, very impressive performance on Saturday. The world seemed to be on Duke, and Tennessee came out and quieted them. They bullied them a little bit, and now it feels like, Tom, after everybody was talking nonstop smack, they're going to be an early exit. They can't score. Now it feels like that sentiment has kind of flipped. So Tennessee's a 5.5-point favorite against the Florida Atlantic team tomorrow night. Do the Vols keep on rolling here, Tom, in your opinion?
Well, I think it all depends on the guys in the striped shirts. I mean, anybody who watched that Duke game saw how it played out early on, and there were a lot of whistles early. And the enforcer for Tennessee is the big guy in the middle, Uroš Placic. He's 7'1", 265. He's been around the game for been playing in college 17 years now. He loves to bang. He loves to get in people's face. He's the player you love to hate from the other team, or if he's your guy, you celebrate him and we'll throw a parade for him. But he got whistled for 2 early fouls, and as the consumer was just sitting there watching the game, I thought, all right, well, Duke's going to run away with this game, because if Tennessee is not allowed to play physical, they're going to have a hard time winning. To your point, the offense just isn't there. They're not a great shooting team. They really only have one guy at this point, maybe 1.5, who can create his own shot. That's Santiago Vescovi, the left-handed guard who can play point, plays off the ball. And he's really good. But if you know what they're running and you can take him away, especially a lot of the baseline runs that they do and the flex action they do, then you can quiet their offense. They need other guys to step up. This is a team that lost their point guard, Zakai Ziegler, with a few games to go in the regular season, and he was really the straw that stirs their drink. Now, they are still the best defensive team in the country, but how do they do it? They do it by jumping in the passing lanes. They give guys freedom off the ball and on the ball. If basketball shorts had pockets, they would have their hands in your pockets. That's how physical they are, especially on the perimeter. And in the SEC, a very physical league this year that didn't have great outside shooting, but had pack-it-in, rim-protecting defenses and other defenses that could play takeaway. Missouri was high on steals. Tennessee is high on steals. The officials got to a point where they let that go. In the NCAA tournament, they usually don't let that go, because those guys with the whistle are being graded each and every game, and they want to make it to Houston just like all the teams do. So I was surprised that the officials let them play against Duke. I don't know that you can count on that every game if you're Tennessee, and I don't know if they could win playing a clean brand of basketball.
Yeah, Tom, I've been sitting here saying that we got cheated.
By the way, just so you know,
yeah. I mean, that was football on the hardwood.
Tulane Hall of Famer Shaun King apparently played on the Tulane basketball team at one point. Just referred to Duke as we.
Yeah, that's my squad.
Yeah, and also didn't watch the end of the game.
I mean, they were tackling us. I mean, all we needed was helmets and shoulder pads.
I mean, and Tom, I really sympathize with them too, because Duke, historically just never has gotten the whistle going their way. So I really felt for Shaun.
Well, when you're used to getting the whistle, when you don't get
Shaun,
it.
It makes sense. It makes sense you would be a Dookie. I mean, you're from you're from North Carolina. Wait, you're from Florida? and then Louisiana?
Tom, the world is a lot smaller now.
Then he went back. He's just, once Johnny Dawkins went to UCF, that's when he turned and became that big old Duke fan, We're talking to Tom Hart from ESPN, SEC Network. All right, Tom, I guess we leave the best for last, because they are the favorite now to win the national championship in the betting market, Alabama. We only got about 90 seconds. 7.5-point favorite against San Diego State. Do they take care of business Friday, and do you think the Crimson Tide ultimately win the title?
Bama lost one game in November, one in December, one in January, one in February, one in March. They are the most talented team left in the country. They do it on both ends of the floor. San Diego State defends the 3 well, but Bama doesn't need the 3 to win, even though they're really good. if you're asking a question, can Bama win this thing? I think the off-court issues are the question you have to ask. Can this group of amateurs, really, 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, can they deal with the growing spotlight on them with everything that happened off the court and shed that and just go play ball? If they can, nobody's going to beat them. They're the best team in the country, and Nate Oates has found a way to keep his foot on the accelerator with this team no matter who they're playing.
Amateur. Man, Brandon Miller making more than the head coach at Bama, I bet.
I threw up air quotes when I said that. Y'all couldn't see me. If we're on a Zoom, I threw up air quotes.
Hey, Tom, great stuff. Enjoy the games. We always love having you on. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, great. And, Sean, maybe you and I can take in your favorite baseball team. Maybe a Yankees game someday.
Raise or die, Tom. Raise or die.
Oh, now we're a home podcast.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.